What's up, beautiful people? It's Dominique
And Dexter Peggins.
and in partnership with WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. This is when men open up, where we are redefining manhood through transparency, and we are back again. And we appreciate you all for always tuning in, joining us, sharing our videos, liking our videos, giving us some valuable feedback. But we're talking about overcoming the fear of failure, and this is an excellent topic because a lot of us are allowing this thing of fear to really freeze us, to really keep us from really going from really reaching our desires and really going for the things that we really want to go for. But this is an excellent topic, So Dex, what's so significant about this topic right here, man?
Man, the fear of failure. I mean, this is huge because, like you said, the dangers associated with the fear of failure. The importance of this particular subject matter is that fear has the ability to paralyze you.
Yes.
And so what we're really talking about is that you can become so crippled because of how you perceive things that your thoughts start to work against you, and you start to shy away from pursuing efforts that you know you're supposed to do because you have convinced yourself that you won't be successful in that area.
Yeah. And the key word, you have convinced yourself. We're going to get more into that mindset.
Oh, definitely.
But this is an excellent video for anyone who is really just trying to pursue something. They have a great desire, but they're just worried about something. They're concerned about something that's really keeping them from really going towards it. And they're just afraid, they're scared, they're fearful of something when it comes down to being successful in whatever area in their life.
Oh, yeah.
So this would be a great video. And if you think, if this is something that you believe somebody will be impacted by, please just share the video. Please share the video. If you have any questions throughout the video, please comment and we'll get right into it. So with this overcoming the fear of failure, I think one of the biggest things when it comes down to the fear of failure is really identifying specifically what you are afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
So when we say, okay, I'm afraid of failing, okay, specifically really dial more into what it is. Because, it can be, to me, when it comes down to being afraid, it's that chance that you may lose something. It's that chance of, or you may be risking something. So if you have a great desire for something, but there's no chance of you losing anything, I think it makes it more comfortable with actually going towards it.
Yeah.
So it may be the chance of you losing money. It may be the chance of, embarrassment. Maybe that chance of really just starting over. I know in undergrad, one of the things that really almost paralyzed me was coordinating this event. And I knew it was a chance. But for me, I was afraid because I was actually afraid of the embarrassment of actually failing. So it wasn't just the event, but it was more so how other people was going to be looking at it. These people going to this event and not being that great, people relying on me, and it's that credibility. It's that how people are going to look at me.
Yeah.
But I made it more about other people and less about the actual purpose. So when I really got back into, okay, Dominique, why are you really doing this thing? And then understand this is your first time. And after this first time, it's going to really show you some things. Then it really made me get back in the right mindset and understand, okay, this is what I really need to be focused on. So with me going through that process, that allowed me to really dial down to what really am I really afraid of? If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. One of the things a good friend of mine said one time, he said that, if God doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but, power, love, and sound mind. And so if God didn't give you the spirit of fear, then where'd you pick it up from?
Exactly.
And so, why are we operating in a mindset of fear if that's something that God didn't give us, And so I think what ends up happening is, like you said, we're the expectations, the perceived expectations of other people now become our truth. And then now we're operating under that context, and we're limiting ourselves because we're afraid of what we think other people will think about what we're doing. So it's not even we lose sight of why we started, and now the focus is on, oh, I wonder if other people are going to be okay with what I'm doing. And so that, living based upon the perceptions of other people will hinder you, and then ultimately, like I said, it's going to paralyze you from doing the thing that you know you're supposed to do.
Yeah, right. And another thing is, when it comes down to the fear, sometimes that fear comes from just not knowing what to do, or you have the endpoint, and sometimes that endpoint can just be so overwhelming and so big, and that we just overwhelm ourselves.
Yeah.
So many things. Something that we do, we have to really sit people down, develop a process, develop a strategy, develop steps that's going to really help you understand what you have to do in order to reach that.
Exactly.
So one of the things I used to always tell people to do is always focus on the end goal, always focus on the main target. And that's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
We have to really develop that process and really keep focus on the process, because that allows us to keep us in the right mindset. Okay, what do I need to be focusing on first?
Yeah.
All right, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? As you're going, you're reaching much more. You're going closer, or reaching closer to where you're supposed to be at. So this is really a good way to really calm your nerves.
Yeah.
Right? And understand that there's levels to this. Like we always say, there's levels to this. So really develop a process for yourself. If it's just so overwhelming for us, when it becomes so overwhelming for us, that really messes up our own process of thinking as well. Because it's like, okay, this is too overwhelming. We start to panic, we start to stress out, and we just say, you know what, I'm just gonna, I'll get to this later.
Yeah.
So if you're in this mindset, ask yourself, do I really have a strategy in place? Do I really have a process in place? And am I only focusing on the end point? Am I not focusing on, okay, this is the process, and these are the steps I have to take in order to reach that?
Yeah, and so let me share this as well, because I want to be very candid, and I want to be realistic about it. Failure is a part of the process sometimes. It's almost inevitable. At some point in time, you're going to fail. I think the thing is that what I want to help people is that you don't have to be afraid. Fear doesn't have to be connected with the failure. I shared this story, with people. I think it was Alexander Graham Bell or Thomas, one of those guys, whoever made the light bulb. I recall reading that they failed something like 100 times, and then on the 101st time, they finally had the successful product. So what was it about that kept them going the 99th time, the 100th time, and then finally the 101st time? And I think it was that they were starting to get closer to what they saw as a reality. Even though they failed multiple times in the process, they still found success in the failure, because what they learned was, okay, well, this specific thing didn't work.
Exactly.
So maybe I tweak it here, and then I'll start to see, more things that I want to see if I keep along the same track. And so, like I said, I want to help people to understand that, sometimes it is failure. In your mind, we see this grandiose thing. We see the big picture, and it's okay to say, you know what, I tried it this time, and it wasn't 1,000 people at my event. It was only 10, but you know what? That was a really good event. I was able to, maybe work on my presentation a little bit better. And then the next time I have an event, I know the type of things to do in that event. And so, like Dominique said, it's the process. We have to be mindful of why we got started, understand that, and sometimes in the process there are some hiccups. But you and I talk about this all the time. You also have to celebrate the small victories as well.
Yes.
There are small victories even in the face of some failures. And those small victories ultimately put you towards the realization of the huge success.
Yeah, and the thing is, those that's quote unquote small success is actually a great thing, because you know, we still want that microwave success.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but I know how an ounce of that feels like, that quick success feels like, and it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So the last thing that we want is all this success, and you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the wisdom, you don't have the toolkit to really handle it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now you're really embarrassing yourself, and you're losing credibility. You get what I'm saying? Go ahead, man.
Man, no, that was good, because the reality is that once you get to that place, if you get the quick victory, you don't know what it takes to sustain that place.
Man, yes.
You know,
yes,
and
right.
I think sometimes when we suffer a few losses here and there, when we get to that place, we now know how to sustain it. You know. Yeah. And that's one of the things, you know, that people have to understand, that in the process is not just about arriving there, it's knowing how to maintain it when you get there.
And see, that's good, because we have to understand, how do we really shift the mindset?
Yeah.
We're looking at failure as such a negative thing. We're afraid of failure. We're just looking at failure as if it's just the worst in the world that can happen. But we have to, if we can find the beauty inside of it, in you know what I'm saying? It can really shift our mindset. You know, how do we always hear people say, okay, shift the mindset, but how? You know, how we have to find the beauty in it. So what does it really reveal? When you talked about the events, when I have that first event, now I have something to measure it from. Now I have something to reflect on it. Now I have something to really say, okay, these are the areas where I thought would go this way, but it really went this way. I really thought it was going to go in this direction, but it went that direction. Now you know, now you can just continue to build and build and build on that. I just love when it comes down to the beauty of it, man. The failing, it always shows you something that needs improvement.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Exactly. It always shows you something that needs improvement. So we just looking at it that we're just failing, but you don't realize that you're getting closer and closer and closer, because that's one thing that you know that's not going to work. You get what I'm saying?
You better preach,
so now
man.
it's a beauty inside of it. So we have to really help ourselves with that reflection, right? And really finding that beauty in it. And then we just say, you know what? This thing that I'm afraid of is actually necessary.
Exactly. Man, that's good. And I want to say this, that, you know, look, when we fail, those are real costs associated with the failure. You know, that was real time that you invested.
Right.
That was real money that you invested. So, you know, of course, nobody wants to lose out. But, you know, and I shared this with you earlier, you know, quote from Earl Nightingale. He said that, you know, success is the ability to do what failures won't do on a consistent basis. And I think sometimes when we lose a few dollars here, you know, we like, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. We're not willing to put ourselves out there anymore.
Right.
The person who realizes success says, you know what, maybe the name of the game is not for me to spend all my money, but to get partners and to get a team to help me, because I failed in this area, because guess what? That wasn't my strong suit. And so the successful person says, you know what? I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it differently, because now I learned from that last experience. And so, like you were saying, that we have to learn from a mindset standpoint how to use our failures for our advantage. If you're going to lose, at least learn from the loss. You know, I was sharing about the book that I'm reading. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And the reality is that, yeah, of course, you know, in the losses, there's still a lesson. Are you willing to apply the lesson from the loss and then get back in there and re-engage the process again, so that you can realize the success?
Right. And there was this one guy, I looked at a video, I think yesterday, and he was talking about, you know, some people just not starting maybe their business because of the lack of funding. And who knows, you may need $500, you may need $10,000, you may need $100,000, whatever the case may be. But he used an example that's maybe like $1,000 or whatever the case may be. And some people are afraid, or they're probably hesitant because they just don't have it. But the thing is, it's going back to originally what I was saying. That fear is stemmed from something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's so important when we have these mental barriers. It's very, very important to really understand where it's stemming from. because we think of it as it's a broad thing. I'm just afraid. But if we can really just take time out and really further understand where that's really stemming from, then we can start really doing the planning.
Exactly.
So what I'm trying to get at is, if it is a money thing, then that person who needs to save up $1,000 or may be afraid of losing $1,000 or whatever the case may be, that person probably needs to be focusing on budgeting. You get what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
I mean, if you're somebody who's really just afraid of just folks just looking at you wrong, maybe you have to really just dial down and really ask yourself and really remind yourself of your why.
Yeah.
You know, really, why are you doing this? You know, how are you really trying to impact other people? Because there's just these things, and like he was saying, we're just not supposed to operate like that. And that's a standard that we have to always walk by and just live by, that we're just not supposed to operate in fear. So if we can really dial down and really understand what's really stemming from this fear of failure, then we can really start planning for success.
Yeah, and Ms. Vicky said that, you know, fear is not permanent. Oh, failure is not permanent.
Right.
I caveat that by saying that the fear of failure can be permanent, and we have to be careful
if we
because,
allow it,
you know, because it's a choice.
It is a choice.
You know, essentially what you're saying is, I'm afraid, so I won't start.
Yeah.
And so because, you know, you've taken on that mindset, you're stuck. You know, and so I can't tell you how many people I know who have had some brilliant ideas but haven't started because they've convinced themselves that it's not a reality for them. And I want to tell you that the human brain is an amazing thing. Like, if you convince yourself that you can't do it, you won't do it. Right. Like, literally, your brain will not conceive a possibility for you to make it happen. And so that's the danger of coming into an agreement. You know, I call it soul agreements. When your soul, you convince yourself that it's not a reality, you won't make any consideration, or you won't think of any possible ways that you can make this thing a reality. And so you have to be careful that you're not entering into, once again, the fear of failure. I've failed so many times, and I've concluded that, you know what, hey, it wasn't for me. That was the lesson learned. Because once again, you know, I use the scripture all the time, you know, that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. That's Romans 8:28. Even when I fail and I determined that, you know what, this thing that I tried wasn't for me, it's still a victory, because now I'm not using up all my energy to pursue that thing anymore. I tried it, and, you know, I learned that it wasn't for me. Yeah. Or I learned that, hey, you can do it better and just re-engage and do it differently.
Right. And that's funny, because we can everyone who's looking at this video right now could just think of things that they just messed up on and failed at. But later on in life, it may be the next day, maybe the next month, or maybe the next few years, that failed situation really prepares you for that next situation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you was talking about the focus. We will convince ourselves that, you know what, this is not for me, or I just cannot succeed. But that's the thing, we focus so much on things we have no control over.
Yeah.
And we focus on factors that are just really irrelevant. So, you know, and I don't want to highlight anything negative, but we had maybe several weeks ago, we had a troll on our video. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We could have spent time, you know, addressing that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? But if we would have spent time addressing that would have got us out of our own element. You get what I'm saying? Or if we spend time addressing everybody who just doesn't have a positive view about what we got going on, that's going to allow us to start going to the drawing board and say, okay, we got to change something up. Yeah. But they're not really for what we got going on anyways. So we just got to really just stay focused on what we're really trying to succeed and the purpose of everything. If you have any questions, I want everyone to please share the video. If you have any questions, anything that you want to share, that's right, Chris. The sound mind will seek out others to trust in teaching you along the way. Exactly.
And if you know, I can't state this point enough, and if you don't leave with anything else from me, I just want you to leave with this. Always remember, the start belongs to you. Yeah. You know, we try to convince, you know, oftentimes we're looking for validation outside for us to start something, but there's a lot of things that are in our hearts and our minds that we want to do. Listen, it's up to you to start. We both talk about this quite often, that create a plan and then put the steps in place to execute.
Right.
Literally make the plan that is so much of a reality that you can just start tomorrow. Exactly. If it's, I want to write a book, man, type something. Type your name on something. Write something out. A thought, but stop, using the excuse and making it seem like it's such a far out thing that you won't start today.
Yeah, and it probably is far out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, even with writing a book, a lot of people, the first question that they'll ask me, and we'll end very soon. The first question that people always ask me, which I don't really like, is it hard? And my thing is, why does that even matter? Yeah. How difficult it is? Because really, what you're doing is, when you ask them that question, is that's really the determining factor of whether you're going to start or not.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up.
You're really setting yourself up. So I just makes people upset, and I'm not going to answer that question, because the thing is, you don't know where to start. Mm. So because you don't know where to start, it may seem very difficult. So sometimes what's stemming from the fear, it may be a lack of knowledge. So we have to just develop the steps. And once we really do take action and really researching and really understand what steps to take, people may realize, it really ain't nothing to release an ebook. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But it's just that we have to really do ourselves a favor and really just research and really gain the knowledge and in the understanding of where we really need to start, so we can go through the planning process in the steps.
And I like that. Nobody's ever asked me that question, but I'm praying for the day that they do. But I will readdress it and say, well, is it worth it? And is it worth it to you?
That's good.
Because whether it's hard or not, and that speaks to the why. Why would you start? Because it's worth it to me. Mm-hmm. And so because it's worth it, I've taken the time to consider what it's going to cost me to pursue it. And so once again, make the steps to make your dreams and your goals a reality, and don't live in that place of fear, because fear, once again, is not what God gives you. It's what society has convinced you to assume as your perspective.
Exactly. And we're gonna leave off on that. Is it worth it? Just ask your question. Ask that question you all the time when you're just in that mindset of fear. Is it really worth it? What is the purpose? Why am I really? Why do I really have this desire? And really just start with that. But let's not focus on the things that we don't have control over. Let's not focus on the irrelevant factors, but let's really focus on our purpose, the why, the impact, and so forth. And I guarantee that's going to really give you the right start. We do have a few announcements. We do have some sponsorship opportunities.
Oh yeah.
So our followers and our viewers are growing. And with that being said, we really want to partner with some business owners, some entrepreneurs who would like to advertise on our show. You may have a product. We can easily advertise your product on our show. We really do believe that's going to be a great value to you. We have some other opportunities as well, even using our page to have a few ads as well. And we are working on some live events.
Yeah, looking forward to
some actual live events, when men open up events. We really want to connect with our followers. Really want to have that camaraderie. We really want the guys to really get together and really have these important conversations.
Definitely.
I really do believe, and we were talking about it, the importance of these conversations.
Yeah. And Spoon, what's up, bro? It's necessary. Look, there's a lot of, the premise of our show, the premise of what we're endeavoring to build is we recognize that there are a lot of men dealing with issues, and there's no place to go to where these issues are talked about. And so we're trying to develop a community where these issues are addressed, and you're equipped with the understanding of this is how I can handle and how I can succeed in life. And so that's really about what men, when men open up, that's what we're about. And so, we're getting the interest here. We're getting especially after our young men event recently, we're getting interest from men, and so this is the time. Men want to handle these issues. They don't want to suffer with these issues anymore, and they want to thrive in life. So that's what we're doing. And so, if you want to get behind it, listen, we would love to have you. We would love to have you come out to these events. And also, once again, back to the sponsorship piece, we go live next week. You can start following us every Tuesday on the WYTV Christian broadcasters. We'll start to air nationally and internationally. So we are here. The podcast is going to be on satellite radio. So it's good times.
It is. Yeah. It is. And those the guys, if you're interested in more information about these events and you want to stay updated with these events, you can easily message us on your email, and we'll add your email to our email list. We are developing an email list, so all you got to do is just message us your email, and we'll begin sending out information very soon. But man, these events are gonna be powerful, man. I'm really excited, and it's gonna be basically almost the same style of with our lives, but it's gonna be more engaging. I think it's gonna be more focused on the actual attendees, and it's gonna be good. That's all I can really say. So, message your email address. We'll add that to the email list, and just look out for more information. We'll also post, the flyers as well. And this is just for the men. When men open up, this is just for the men. It won't be live. Mm-hmm. It'll be a safe space, and it'll just be us. And we're just looking forward to it.
Well, ladies, you can encourage your significant other to come on.
Please
help us in that area.
Well, this is the fear of failure. This is a great topic, man. I really do think this is going to help some people out. If you thought this was good, just please share the video, tag somebody that may be benefited from this, and just continue to share the video. Yes. Give us some feedback, give us some questions, and if you have some other good topics, let us know. Message us, comment. Give us some great feedback how you enjoyed the video, and we were just gonna keep it moving. But once again, my name is Dominique Bond,
and I'm Dexter Peggins Jr. Let me throw the junior in there.
And this is When Men Open Up. We see you all next week. Thank you so much.